Hi, this is Boris. Welcome to another episode of Sketchman Draws. I'm going to start with drawing some 3D shapes and layer them on top of one another. And you'll understand why I'm doing this. And so first I start with like this cylindrical shape, and then I put another layer over it, right? Like you see that, like so that will be, just imagine that is the muscle layer, okay? And over it is the clothing layer, okay? Which, by the way, all these layers have their own mass, their own weight, and so on. So they kind of cover that axis, which is an important part that you need to understand, which is like so our skeletons are the same. So that's the structure that we need to understand to draw and understand anatomy. Okay, so and we're going to look at statues. So why sculptures? Because sculptures are beautiful, and I think you should take things that you find beautiful to as inspiration. And also another thing is that when you're looking at sculptures, the complexity compared to a photo is like a lot of it is taken out. Like the colors is it's just like 3 tones or 2 tones, and it's beautiful. So here I'll just mark the head. And basically what I'm doing here is simplifying, and this I've done this in previous videos, simplifying the human skeleton with stick figures. And I'm doing this sort of like grid the posture, so that I can capture the posture, I can capture the energy of the reference picture here. So it's very simple, like one line, as you can see, one line for the shoulder, one line for the pelvis that I'm like drawing now, like just a straight line down. We're not here to talk about proportion, but to be completely honest, I do feel like the proportion is a little bit off. Like for example, her head is a little bit too big compared to her body, but anyway. So, and then I'm going to draw what I drew basically, but just on my own on the side. And I suggest so the more you do this, the easier and more confident you will become. And you can also do this as an exercise to kind of get better at capturing pose. And if you're trying to draw comics or illustrations, like, and kind of imagine poses, you have to take reference from reality, because then the audience's brain will be able to detect if there's something wrong, or the pose doesn't look real, or so the reality will tell you what a real person is supposed to move. And because our the joints, the body is limited, it cannot bend in any way. So the thing with this video is that you can of course replay this, right, and draw along. And don't forget to join my drawing workshops, and you'll find details on my website sketchmanboris.com, or in the meetup group, that the links are in the description of this video. Here, so a completely different subject, still a beautiful sculpture. I'm doing the same thing, but I just sped it up so that you see, but it's the same process. And again, the goal is that you become at some point very comfortable capturing the pose that at some point you don't need to do this, right? So this is not the goal of this video. This is just to capture the pose, and I'm showing you like 3 times with 3 different pictures and 3 different poses. It's just to show that it can be applied to different poses. Okay, and you should like kind of try to copy. And by the way, copying in this case is like taking notes, but for drawing. Okay, the sketching here that we are doing should be considered as take a note for drawing, because that's what like a lot of sketching with the purpose of learning is. And even if you're not learning, you're sketching, your mind is constantly like absorbing images, and you're building that visual library. Okay, so and I think if you draw regularly and you're focused on getting better, I think you will see an improvement. You will see a difference in your drawing, the way you draw. And another reason why I chose sculptures, because I have already explained in other videos, there's a really like wonderful like this visceral feeling that I get when I'm drawing, which also feels like I'm sculpting. I'm sculpting with drawing, or sculpting I'm sculpting the drawing. So we come back to the first one, and here I'm going to use that skeleton structure that I've established with stick figures, and I'm going to draw around the volume. And the lines are carefully chosen here because if the cylinder is pointing upward, the lines will be kind of arching upward. And I'll do the short video on this, but it's like looking at a cylinder from different angles, right? So if the cylinder is kind of looking downward, like it's like it's lower than your eye level, and it's looking down, you'll see that the arcs at the bottom and the top and the bottom will be arching downward. That's fine. If you cannot see that now, that's fine. What you need to know is that structure, and I've said this in many videos and even most of my videos, structure is more important than details, and which is why I don't differentiate like classical drawing to comic book drawing or illustrations, because it's all about the amount of time you're willing to put into that illustration. The more time you put in, of course, you can bring in more details and more realism. There's a reason why manga and comics look that way, because they have to draw quick. They have to put out like hundreds of like panels like of drawings. But here I showed an example from online. So this is what, in a way, kind of represents what goes on in my mind. As I'm drawing on like a flat 2D surface, in my mind, I am kind of moving around that shape and sculpting it in a 3D, like as if like I was using a 3D software in my mind, right? Like, so that's and that's what like really kind of gives me that pleasure when I'm drawing, I think, and it gives me that visceral experience that it's difficult to describe, it's difficult to make you feel, and hopefully you also feel. That's the point. So continuing on, for the others, I'm just speeding it up. And here, even if you don't understand the shape of the muscles, the name of the muscles, you can just follow the outline, and but still using that pre-established skeleton structure. And you'll see here, I noticed that I made a mistake. Like I put the leg, the positioning of the leg wrong, so I'm correcting it now. And this is the part also where you can allow yourself to make mistakes, because we haven't started on the details, on the rendering or coloring, inking or whatever. So it's still, you'll still be able to spot differences. Another thing that I do is here it's easy because it's digital. I mean, it's not easy, but it's digital, so you can always erase. But also the fact that I'm putting it next to each other, and if I want to compare and see if there are some differences that are too, like, you know, if there's a too much difference, is that what I'll do is I'll quickly look back and forth from my drawing to the reference, like as if I'm, you know, like flipping a page back and forth. So, and if I see something like really wrong, it will really stand out. And that's how I decide to make corrections. Another thing you can do is flip the drawing. So digitally, of course, it's easy. You can just flip the canvas with one button. But if you're drawing traditionally, you can actually put your drawing against a window, you know, in the inverted version. So we come back to this, right? So we talked about axis. So that's what I think I want you. That's what I want you to feel like. So for example, you have this picture here. Of course, the bone doesn't exactly go in the middle of the arm, but it's still, you know, it's still like something that you need to know that it's there, and the bone and the muscle and everything around it, like has the bones as axis. And then once you have that structure, you can sculpt that clay, that base, that foundation into whatever kind of arm you want to draw. And that's the important thing, have a good foundation. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show. And again, if you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and as I said, if you want to join my drawing workshops, please check out the links in the description, the meetup group, and my website. So as usual, please check out my other videos. There are so many videos about and tutorials here, and also about comics. So if you like it, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to support me, you can go to my Patreon, Sketchman Boris. And I'll see you next time. This is Boris, signing off.